All right, everybody. My guest today is a travel industry veteran who has been welcoming visitors to India for over 4 decades. Growing up immersed in institutions such as Bollywood, cricket, and politics, he became an enthusiastic student of multiple languages and the richness of Indian culture. In 1999, he founded Travel Scope India, a tour company that customizes Indian travel experiences for adventurers from around the world. Mohan Narayanaswamy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I am so excited. You might be the guest that gets the prize from recording from the furthest away, from the other side of the earth. You are in India right now. It's early November as we speak. What is India like in early November?
So the place where I live in Delhi. The weather is very nice and cool. In fact, it's just the beginning of our winters. Got nothing to do with your winters, let me tell you. But yes, this is one of the best times to be in India, particularly in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, very nice. So you have been in tourism a long time. Tell us how you got started.
Well, I never intended to be in tourism. I did not study to be a tourism professional. I guess travel, kind of runs in our blood as a family. I'm originally from the southern part of India, and our summer vacations were all spent traveling from Delhi all the way to the southern part of India. And these used to be a long train journeys, like 2 overnights and almost 2 days. And we used to pass by several states in India from the northern part to the southern part. So I feel that this is where my travel journey started. And these journeys used to be, fascinating and fun because we used to travel as a family. There were cousins and aunts and uncles. So, yeah, I feel that the seeds of becoming a tourism professional were sown in my early days of traveling from Delhi all the way to the southern part of India.
Yeah, that's amazing. So at what point did you decide to actually work in tourism?
Not until when I was 20. I mean, I just kind of finished my studies. And I was actually not in tourism. I was, working in accounting and finance. And I have an elder brother who started, in the tourism business before me. And he was very young when he started his own company. And he said, "Why don't you come and work for me and look after my accounting and finance?" I said, "All right."
Yeah.
So I joined him in the business, and then I transitioned from accounting and finance into an active tourism professional.
Yeah. Well, it's just my opinion, but I think you made a good move from accounting and finance into tourism because, boy, is it a lot more fun than looking at spreadsheets all day, huh?
Absolutely. But I must also say that my training in accounting and finance actually helps me a lot in my business today.
Oh, yeah, I bet. So tell us about that business. It was 1999, and you saw an opportunity to start something of your own. So what kind of led you to take that big step?
So, Brian, in the late 80s and early 90s is when, the Indian economy kind of opened up. And when I say that, what I mean is that until then, we were a very licensed, red tape economy, and then things started changing. And when the economy opened up, it brought a lot of growth opportunities. The service industries was the one which actually benefited a great deal from this growth. The Indian middle class started, growing and spending money on travel. And if I tell you, Travel Scope was actually created to cater to the domestic Indian travelers at that time.
Wow.
But then, time passed, and several travel companies saw the same opportunity, and then they flooded the market with like cheap and cookie cutter type of products. So this kind of led to a rethinking strategy, and a few years later, we were approached by a kind of a large travel group from Europe who was looking to partner with a DMC in India. And that was like a turning point for us. And then we revived Travel Scope, with that opportunity. And then, and I diversified into other, regions like the United States and Australia. It's been 25 years since then.
Yeah, that is amazing. And you have really developed a specialty of creating customized experiences, right? You don't have a cookie cutter product.
No, I would say no, not at all. In fact, all no two itineraries that we produce are the same. I mean, they could be similar, but they're never the same. And that's what our specialty is. We like to curate our itineraries according to what our clients are looking for. We don't stereotype our clients into one category. And India is a vast country, and it's also very diverse. There are so many aspects and elements connected with the journey to India. So like I said, we just don't stereotype our clients, and we create everything from scratch. We communicate with our clients, learn a little bit more from them. Ask them to share information about their interests, and then we create these itineraries for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Give us a little bit more of an idea of the range of questions you're asking when you customize an itinerary. Is it mostly about how long is your trip? How much do you want to pay? Or are you asking what sorts of things are you into? Do you enjoy art, music, outdoors? How in depth are you going?
So it's and that's a great question you asked me. It's a combination of several questions. Of course, the duration of the trip. Of course, the budgets as well. These are very, I would say, normal questions. But we also ask them if they have any special interest. I mean, do they like art? Do they like architecture? Are they interested in cuisine, or are they interested in wildlife experiences, crafts and textiles? Because India offers such a diverse kind of list of experiences to our clients, it's always important to know from our clients as to what is it that kind of tickles their interests, and accordingly we then bring those elements into an itinerary.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of people in the U.S. where I'm based, we know that India has a lot of people, but I don't think many Americans have a sense of just how big India is geographically and how diverse it is geographically. So, what are some of the different kinds of natural diversity people might see when they are touring the country?
Yeah. So now, if you look at the map of India, we on the top are the high altitude Himalayan mountains, which also we border with Nepal on one side, and of course China. So we call them the Himalayas, and the Himalayas are actually we have the higher Himalayas, which are altitudes of about 3,000 meters and above. Then we have the middle Himalayas, and we have the lower Himalayas. And then we come down to the plains. We call them the Gangetic Plains. We have the deserts of Rajasthan and Gujarat on the western part, and we have some beautiful forests in the central part of India, which is where we have some of the most amazing tiger reserves. And then you come down to a huge coastline, of India. So we are kind of a peninsular as we head south in India. And then as you go east, you come to some really amazing, topography where we also have some of the most indigenous, communities that are living. So it's a very diverse landscape, I mean, and every conceivable landscape we have in India.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you could spend weeks or a month, exploring all of those things in India. Many people don't have that much time when they take a trip. So, what are some of the most popular places in India that most of your American groups really want to see while they're with you?
So, every traveler has, their bucket list. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, American travelers as well, I would say, the Taj Mahal is a big ticket item for anyone who's coming to India.
Sure.
The the Golden Triangle, which consists of Delhi and Agra and Jaipur, and then also extends into Rajasthan, where we have several other beautiful cities like Jodhpur or Jaisalmer or Udaipur. So these are some of the most, I would say, um, um, popular destinations or destinations where the American travelers are drawn into. These are also destinations where we have some fabulous, hotels. Some of these palaces which have been restored into beautiful luxury hotels.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what draws American travelers to India. But I'd like to add that over the years, people are also now traveling to other destinations in India or other regions of India as they are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
And many travelers who come to India, they think that it's a once in a lifetime destination, but then they end up coming back for more.
Yeah.
We've had several repeat travelers coming for more. I mean, I have families and groups that come to India almost every year for the last about more than a decade.
Wow. That is
Mhm.
amazing. So some of those popular places, you mentioned Golden Triangle, for instance, are they relatively close to each other in that you could, motor coach from one to the other and kind of stay on land the whole time? Or does this require flying from place to place while you're in India?
See, that's another interesting point you have, mentioned here. So, traveling in India is a combination of road travel, flights, or short duration train journeys.
Mm,
So, in the Golden Triangle, you are well connected with these destinations. They can be done by road, or there are also flights that you can take between two destinations. We always offer a combination of different modes of travel to make it more interesting, more efficient, and less tiring.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, give us a sense for how much time you suggest people allot on the ground in India to see these highlights they want to see. I'm imagining this is more than a week long trip, especially when you account for the long flight back and forth to the U.S.
Definitely, definitely. It is a long flight from the US, anywhere between 14 to 16 hours of flying. And then, when you see it's like door to door, it might even be more than 24 hours at times.
Yeah.
I always recommend travelers to spend at least 12 to 14 days,
Mm,
which can be a bit too much for some travelers because they are not able to spend that much time. But I would say at least 10 days, Brian, on
yeah.
ground,
Yeah.
excluding the flights, excluding the international flights. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. You need at least a day, sort of, just to recover from the jet lag, right?
Absolutely, a day to recover from jet lag. And I like to give our clients enough time to explore the cities without having to kind of rush through from one place to the other, and take their time. And also there's a lot to see in India, and also absorb, so you need time to absorb things in India.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The scheduling of your trips. I know you can customize it based on what people want, but if you're making a recommendation, how busy do you plan for the days to be, and how much either flexible time or even free time do you suggest giving a group?
So I would ideally like to schedule things in a way that, like I said, it's efficient, moving from one place to the other. Because some of our cities, like Delhi, for example, are large cities, and there's traffic, and it takes time to go from point A to point B. So we get into the details to plan it in a way that they are not doing more than 3 sites
Mm,
maximum in a day, and that allows them enough time to have a break for lunch in between, and also then come back to the hotel to get a little bit of downtime. So it's not like that you're starting at 8 a.m. and you're coming back at 7 p.m. No, at Travel Scope, that's something that we are very, very particular about, and we plan things in a way that people get enough time to see the sites, and include the travel in between, and then also come back and get a little bit of downtime. It's important. It's their
Yes.
holiday at the end of the day.
That's right. Downtime can be so critical, especially I feel like when you are seeing and thinking about new things, new ideas, things that are completely foreign to you. Your brain just needs more time to absorb, to process, and to appreciate.
Absolutely. And that's what happens in India because, see, whether you're sitting in a motor coach or a train or even in a plane or an airport, there's always something happening because it is a country of 1.4 billion people. So you see a lot of people and there's always something or the other happening. And it takes time to process. Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, for sure. Now, tell us about the situation. I know there are some group leaders that love to be able to drop their group off in a city center or a market or something, and say, "Meet us back here in 2 hours. Go have fun on your own." Is that something that works in India? Is the language easy to navigate, or do you kind of need more escorting than that if you're an American coming to India?
I would say they would need more hand holding,
Okay.
even if you give them a little bit of free time. Let's say, for example, when you go to the Taj Mahal, right? I'm just kind of giving that as an example. So we narrate the story, we take pictures, and then we do leave the clients a little bit of time to just walk around it on their own a little bit to admire, to, like I said, to absorb and process it. But there's always someone who's around, and they can always come back to that spot where the guide or the tour leader is there.
Yeah.
But the markets are very different, so we usually conduct market walks with someone leading. And also when we have groups, I would make sure that, like, if it's a group of, let's say, 20 people, I would at least have two guides. Like, we have a tour leader and a guide, so that we break it down, and we have at least one person for a group of 8 to 10 people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we talked about some of those really popular sites. What are some hidden gems that you really love to show people when they're in India that they may not have heard about, on a travel program, may not have seen in Instagram, but they really love it once you get to show it to them?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think you've now asked me the question that I would love to kind of respond to, because that's one of my specialities. When we curate an itinerary, we want our travelers to go offbeat.
Mm,
And when I say offbeat, some of the rural destinations, to explore the countryside, to meet the locals, interact with them, learn about their culture, their way of life, and sometimes even uh, you know, kind of walking past their, homes or hamlets. One of the places that I love, and there are like several of them, but in the interest of time, I want to talk about one place which is very ideally located between two destinations, between Jodhpur and Udaipur in Rajasthan. It's a place called Narlai.
mm.
Narlai is the name of the village. And this is a property which is a kind of an erstwhile a merchant home, which has been restored into a very beautiful heritage hotel.
Wow.
Uh, the property is right in the middle of a village, and therefore it's surrounded by the village where people live. It overlooks a very beautiful, hill with a beautiful statue of an elephant on top, and you can also hike that hill. We take people on a rural safari. We go on these 4-wheel drive jeeps, exploring the countryside, and also there is, in that habitat, there is a population of leopards which lives. So we kind of go for looking for leopards, and one of the highlights, I would say, is in the evening you go to a site which is very close to that property, which is a 12th century stepwell, and
Wow.
a dining experience there with about 500 lamps lit up, with the locals serving you, a dinner there. Women from the village are coming and making these beautiful, breads, local breads. It's a very, very fascinating experience for me. And there is like a musician. He's a folk musician. He's sitting there with this single string instrument and singing folk songs. I mean, it is so atmospheric. It's mesmerizing, and I think these are like some of the experiences that I recommend to travelers when they come to India. And this is
Oh,
just one of them. There are so
yeah.
many of them like that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. You hit on one of my favorite topics in travel, which of course is food. I think a lot of Americans have an idea of what American or what Indian food is like based on what Indian restaurants in the U.S. are like. Uh, what are they going to find in the culinary world when they arrive in India? Is it going to be similar to what we have here, or is it much bigger and better?
So the food in India is a very, it's a very varied cuisine. It changes from region to region. I have had Indian food in many countries, including the United States. The texture of the food, the flavors are very, very different here than compared to what we have as Indian food, let's say in the US. Although that's also changing a little bit. Uh, Having said that, Indian food, to just sum it up in one word, is delicious.
Mm,
A lot of people, when they come to India, they are looking forward to, the Indian cuisine. The northern part of India is, the cuisine is very different. It is very rich. It is very flavorful. It also has a lot of influences of rulers from other countries who brought their own elements and fused it with our flavors. So yeah, a lot of meat and chicken and of course a lot of gravy in the food. Whereas when you go to the southern part of India, the food is very different. It's very light. It's comprises more of vegetables and rice, whereas we use a lot of wheat in the northern part of India. Also because we have so much of a different terrain, and rice grows abundantly in the south, whereas wheat grows a lot in the north. So
mm.
the cuisine is very, very different in India, just to kind of give you an example.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Tell us about when you meet travelers from any part of the world who come to India, what are some of the common misconceptions that they are bringing with them? And what do you get to help educate them on or sort of open their minds to that is different than, what they thought it was going to be?
So I think one of the, I would say, common, I mean, I don't know whether to call it a misconception, but I think it's kind of a concern that a lot of people have is about falling sick in India, you
Mm.
know. Well, you know, Delhi belly as we call it, and it's it is a genuine concern. It is it. I mean, and I understand, and where they're coming from because they've heard about it and they've read about it, or and then also today in the digital world you can get a an overload of information.
Right.
And so yeah, we educate our travelers. We I think one of the things that travelers have to be very careful about is water.
Hmm.
We always make sure that we advise them on drinking only bottled water. All hotels offer bottled water in the rooms. Even to brush their teeth, they have bottled water available in the bathrooms. All our vehicles are equipped with bottled water. So I think water is a very important element, and I think just the first couple of days, if they take care of this, I think they just settle into the environment and the climate, and the chances of falling sick are very, very low. I mean, I've been in this business now for 40 years. I mean, I'm not saying that we have not had anyone who hasn't fallen sick,
Sure.
but it's been very, very kind of on the lower side. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'll be honest, I brush my teeth with bottled water anytime I'm in a foreign country. I'm serious. I'll go to Europe and brush my teeth with bottled water because why you just never know. And so that's one way you can stay safe. And I very, very rarely ever have stomach issues, no matter where I travel. And it's like you said, it's just that simple thing of watch where your water comes from, watch where your food comes from, and you're probably going to be fine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the last thing you want is to fall sick on day one or day two of your trip. It kind of completely how do you say, ruins the experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. So and there are other things. People are also concerned about things like poverty, overcrowding, chaos. Uh, again, these are all points that we kind of discuss. I also do these conference calls with clients, or we, even if it's a group of participants, we also do some webinars at times to address these questions. And we have documents that we've created with FAQs, which we share with clients much in advance, which then helps them to get responses to some of these questions, and also helps them to prepare themselves for a journey to India.
Yeah, absolutely. And India has changed dramatically in our lifetimes, right? I mean, the economic situation is very different. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of prosperity. So people aren't necessarily going to see what they would have seen in the 80s or 90s, right?
Absolutely. India is changing. We have a huge middle class in this country. Like I mentioned early on in this conversation, that late 80s, early 90s is when our economy opened up, which brought up a lot of opportunities. We're getting modernized. Our roads have got so much more better. Our airports are much more modern, world class, I would say, some of them. And we have all these facilities that are available. And I'd like to add one point here, and this is something that I learned from one of my guides. uh, and we were together, and we had clients who were looking at something, and it probably, the client felt that it's a poor house.
Mm.
And then our guide said, sir, it is actually old. It is not poor. It looks a little bit poor because it is old. So you see a lot of that in India, old buildings, old structures, houses in the old city, which are old, but people who are living in those houses are actually quite rich.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of, it's very fascinating. But then I think you also need to educate travelers, so that they have a better understanding, of what they are looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, talk to us specifically about hotels. You mentioned there being some incredible luxury hotels built in, former palaces or things like that. What is the range of hotels, and specifically kind of the range that you recommend for groups, and how does that affect the overall pricing of the tour?
So, India has some really amazing properties, like you mentioned about these palaces. So, if you just go back a little bit in history, India was a country which comprised of about 550 different kingdoms pre-independence.
Wow.
And each kingdom had its own, palace or fort, particularly in the northern part of India, where the Rajas or the Maharajas, as we call them, built these beautiful forts and palaces. But then, post-independence, somewhere in the mid-70s, some of these privileges that the royalties had were withdrawn, and suddenly they were left with all these huge properties that they had to maintain. And they were very smart. They actually, opened their doors to these palaces to tourists who could come and stay in them. But then, decades later, some professional hotel chains like the Taj took them over on lease, transformed them into beautiful luxury hotels. So at the top of the chain are hotels like that. Then we have another chain in India called the Oberois, which have recreated some of these palace like hotels in some major tourist destinations. But we also at Travelscope, we work with some of the best boutique hotels, heritage hotels.
Mm.
So in order to give you a fair idea of the price range, we could be looking at a hotel in the range of about $300 to $350 a night, and all the way going up to $800 to $900 a night.
Wow.
So that's the range. But when we are working on a group trip with our clients, we are also very conscious about the budgets, and so what's going to be the selling price of the trip, and and then we accordingly kind of make suggestions. but we always want our travelers to get the best. So we would kind of make those, suggestions and mix and match the hotels. They could have a luxury palace in some place. They could be staying at a very nice boutique hotel or that manor home that I spoke about in Nadalai. So
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
them a, variety of experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. What else do travelers need to know about the process of getting to India? There's visa, there's flights, there's passport control, navigating airports. Anything specific that they need to know about that, or how you guys can help them navigate those things?
So yes, definitely you need a visa to come to India. But that process has been kind of simplified, I would say. Earlier, you had to go to an embassy or a high commission to physically, give your visa application or go through, a visa agency. All that is kind of simplified now. You can actually go online and apply for an electronic travel authorization. For example, a 30-day double entry visa, you can apply up to about 3 weeks prior to arrival. Actually, it is 4 days, but we never, tell any client to apply just 4 days before. I would say always 3 weeks, and so you get, an ETA which comes to you by email. So it's an online process. You go, fill the application form, upload the passport photographs, and make the payment, and then within 24 to 48 hours you get an ETA, which is usually valid for 30 days, and the actual visa is stamped on arrival in India, and the actual visa is valid for 30 days to the day of arrival. So that's kind of the visa process in a very simplified way. But then there are other categories of visa that people can apply for: a 1-year visa or a 5-year visa, depending on the purpose for which they're coming. You need to have a valid passport, valid for at least 6 months from the from the date you arrive till you return. It should be valid for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the two most important elements to consider when you're planning a trip to India. Again, all this information we share with our clients, in documents that we send the moment they book and confirm a trip with us, and then we also follow up, with them. Our airports are world class, I would say. Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, these are all cities where we have international flights arriving from different parts of the world. Another very, good thing that has happened over the years with all this modernization of airports, that we are now able to provide this VIP meet and greet service at most of our international airports. And this is something really great, Brian, and people really appreciate it. So you land, you enter terminal, you cross the jetway, you enter terminal, and there is someone waiting for you with a paging sign indicating your name, and that person then navigates you through the formalities of the airport, the immigration, the customs, picking up the baggage. You have porters who are helping you, and then they connect you with our representative who's waiting for you at the airport. So that's a great service, and it's not just international airports. Many of our domestic airports also have that service. So navigating through airports has become much easier now than it used to be.
Yeah, though that sounds like a wonderful service, particularly on the tail end of that 16-hour flight, right? It's very helpful to have somebody show up and help you through that.
Absolutely. And, we get some great reports about, oh, what a wonderful service it was. How do you say, amazing and reassuring it was to see someone just waiting for us as we entered the terminal. So it's a great service. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for people that would love to know more about working with you, or maybe start putting together their own India trip, what's the best way for them to learn more about TravelScope India or get in touch with you?
So we have a website. It's www.travelscopeindia.com. And they can also reach out to me directly on my direct email ID, mohan@travelscopeindia.com. So these are the two ways to reach out to us, learn about us, reach out to us. We also have a common generic email ID, which is on our website. So they can also email on that or directly to me. I'm available to all my clients directly.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, before we let you go, we have some questions we ask every guest, and these are just for fun. So you can just answer off the top of your head. When you book travel, are you going to book a window seat or an aisle seat?
Oh, I'll see it always.
Just have to be able to get up and down, right?
I don't like disturbing others,
Yeah.
and it's and I like my freedom of getting up whenever I want. If have to use the bathroom or just go and stretch myself a little bit, so I'll.
Yeah, I'm with you. Same for me. What is one thing in your carry-on that you wouldn't travel without?
Oh, one thing in my carry-on, of course, my chargers,
Mm,
my laptop, which is very essential because wherever I go, my office goes with me.
yeah.
So whenever I get time, I open my laptop and I am working, responding to mails or messages. So yeah, both phone charger, laptop, and laptop charger.
Yeah, pretty essential, no doubt. So
Absolutely.
if you had a free airline pass and a week with nothing else to do, where would you head next?
Free airline pass with nothing else to do. Okay. I'd probably, go to Bali and
Yeah,
enjoy myself for a week on a beach.
absolutely. That sounds incredible. I would join you if I could. For sure. Yeah. So last question, what is something you have seen or done on the road that you wish you could go back and experience again with somebody you love?
Excellent question. Okay, I have to think about it. I've traveled extensively in the US, and given a chance, I'd like to take my family to the US and go to some of those national parks like Yosemite, for example, which is a very beautiful place to go, or to the Grand Canyon.
Mm.
These are some of the places that I'd love to take my family.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Grand Canyon, Yosemite are both worth seeing. I hope you get to do that sometime soon. So, Mohan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me, and yeah, have a good evening.